Throughout history, empires have risen to greatness, only to fall in failure. Today, we're exploring 8 of the most significant rises and falls of empires from across the globe. Starting off, we have the very first empire in history rose and fell in ancient Mesopotamia. Around 2334 BCE, Sargon of Akkad united city-states and founded the Akkadian Empire, creating a vast territory stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. For over a century, the Akkadian Empire thrived, bringing innovation, trade, and a unified culture across its lands. But by 2154 BCE, a combination of severe drought, internal rebellions, and invasions by the Gutians led to the empire's collapse. The Akkadian Empire's rise and fall shaped the course of history, leaving behind a legacy that still fascinates us today. Next up, we have the Roman Empire. At its peak, the Roman Empire was the most powerful civilization the world had ever seen, spanning 3 continents and ruling over 70 million people. But how did Rome rise to such greatness? It all began in 27 BC, when Augustus became the first emperor, ending centuries of republic rule. Through military might, strategic alliances, and advanced engineering, Rome expanded rapidly, conquering vast territories from Britain to North Africa. But this vast empire was hard to control. Political corruption, economic troubles, and relentless barbarian invasions began to weaken Rome. In 410 AD, Rome was sacked by the Visigoths, a shocking blow that marked the beginning of the end. Just 66 years later, in 476 AD, the last Roman emperor was overthrown. And so, the mighty Roman Empire, which had ruled for over a millennium, crumbled into history, leaving behind a legacy that still shapes our world today. Speaking of empires, next we have the Mongol Empire. One of the largest empires in history began with a single man, Genghis Khan. Born as Temujin in 1162, he united the Mongol tribes and led them on a path of conquest that would change the world forever. In just 25 years, the Mongols built an empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, conquering vast territories in China, Persia, and Russia. Their success was fueled by their exceptional horsemanship, innovative military tactics, and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. Genghis Khan's leadership was key. He promoted based on merit, not birth, and embraced new technologies and strategies from the lands they conquered. But after his death in 1227, the empire's stability was threatened. The empire was divided among his descendants into 4 major khanates, which led to internal conflicts and power struggles. Over time, these divisions weakened the once unified Mongol rule. By the late 14th century, the Mongol Empire had fractured. It faced rebellions, economic challenges, and the rise of stronger regional powers. The last remnant, the Golden Horde, collapsed in the 15th century, marking the end of the Mongol Empire. From the vast steppes of Mongolia to the gates of Europe, the Mongol Empire's rise and fall left an indelible mark on history, reshaping the world in ways still felt today. Next, the Ottoman Empire. Founded in 1299 by Osman I, the Ottoman Empire began as a small Anatolian principality, but it quickly expanded through military prowess and strategic marriages. By 1453, the Ottomans captured Constantinople, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and turning the city into Istanbul, their new capital. Under Suleiman the Magnificent, the empire reached its zenith, controlling vast territories from Europe to North Africa. It was a golden age of culture, law, and architecture. But the empire's fortunes began to wane. Internal strife, corruption, and military defeats took their toll. The 19th century saw a series of uprisings and territorial losses. World War I was the final blow. The empire's defeat led to the Treaty of Sèvres in 1920, which dismantled it. By 1923, the Republic of Turkey was established, marking the end of the Ottoman era. The Ottoman Empire's legacy lives on in modern Turkey and beyond, influencing art and culture across the globe. Next up, the British Empire. It all began in the late 16th century when England started establishing colonies in the Americas and Asia. By the 17th century, it was clear the British were not just expanding, they were dominating. The 18th and 19th centuries saw the empire at its peak. From Canada to Australia, India to Africa, the sun never set on British soil. Their industrial revolution fueled an economic powerhouse and military might. But with great power came great conflict. The 2 world wars in the 20th century drained Britain's resources and weakened its hold over colonies. After World War II, decolonization surged. Nations fought for independence, and the British Empire began to unravel. India, Africa, and the Caribbean sought freedom, leading to a rapid retreat. Today, the British Empire is a distant memory, but its legacy lives on. Former colonies are now independent nations, and the UK remains a global player in its own right. Next up, the Byzantine Empire, once the jewel of the Mediterranean, was born out of the ashes of the Roman Empire in 330 AD, when Emperor Constantine established Constantinople as the new capital. For over 1,000 years, it stood as a beacon of Christianity, culture, and power. The Hagia Sophia, built under Emperor Justinian, symbolized the empire's glory. With its powerful army and impenetrable walls, the Byzantines repelled invaders for centuries. But no empire lasts forever. Internal strife, political intrigue, and religious conflicts weakened the empire from within. The Fourth Crusade in 1204 dealt a devastating blow as crusaders sacked Constantinople, leaving the empire fractured. In 1453, after centuries of decline, the Byzantine Empire faced its end. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II laid siege to Constantinople. Despite a valiant defense, the city fell, marking the end of the Byzantine era. Next, we have the Spanish Empire. It was one of the largest empires in history. It all began in 1492, when Christopher Columbus, under the Spanish flag, discovered the New World. This was the start of Spain's golden age of exploration. Spain quickly established colonies throughout the Americas, including present-day Mexico, Peru, and the Caribbean. They weren't just after land, they were after gold and silver, which they shipped back to Europe by the ton. The wealth from these colonies made Spain the richest and most powerful nation in Europe during the 16th century. Spanish galleons sailed the seas, loaded with treasures, but also faced constant threats from pirates and rival nations. At its height, the Spanish Empire controlled territories on every continent except Australia and Antarctica. They ruled over vast lands in the Americas, the Philippines, parts of Africa, and even some of Europe. But like all empires, Spain's power eventually waned. By the 19th century, independence movements and wars led to the loss of most of its colonies. Today, Spain's legacy lives on through its language, culture, and architecture, remnants of an empire that once claimed the sun never set on its lands. At last but not least, we have the Soviet Union, one of the most powerful and controversial empires of the 20th century. It all started in 1917 with the Russian Revolution. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, overthrew the Tsar and established a communist government. Lenin promised peace, land, and bread, but the early years were anything but peaceful. Civil war, famine, and political purges shaped the new Soviet state. After Lenin's death in 1924, Joseph Stalin took control. His rule was marked by brutal purges, forced collectivization, and rapid industrialization. Despite the terror at home, the Soviet Union played a crucial role in defeating Nazi Germany during World War II, but at a massive cost, millions of lives lost. Post-war, the USSR became a superpower, entering into a tense Cold War with the United States. The arms race, the space race, and proxy wars defined this era. But by the 1980s, the cracks began to show. Economic stagnation and political unrest led to reforms under Mikhail Gorbachev, and by 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. The Soviet Union's legacy is complex, marked by incredible achievements and devastating human costs. Its rise and fall remain one of history's most dramatic stories. These 8 empires rose to incredible heights, each leaving a lasting impact on history, but they also remind us that no empire is invincible. What do you think we can learn from their stories? Like, comment, and subscribe for more historical stories.